everyone, Rosie here. Welcome back to my channel. I'm doing something a little bit different today. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. Let me know what you think in the comments. But basically, here's the situation. I'm exclusively an ebook reader. And that means that it is far too easy to accumulate books unread on my TBR pile. Okay, so you might have seen this is just fiction, so that already tells you to some degree. Let me check how many are actually on my fiction TBR pile right now. There are on the order of 600 books on my fiction TBR pile. Yes, 600. It's a problem. And a lot of these are books that I honestly probably won't read, or like they aren't high priority at all. Because when I first got my Kindle, I was about to go on a big gap year to Australia, and I knew I was going to be traveling a lot and in a lot of places where I didn't really have good access to Wi-Fi and stuff. So I loaded up. There were authors where I was like, oh, I've read like one, or I've heard of one of this person's books, but like, might as well get them all, because what if I'm camping somewhere for a week and don't have Wi-Fi and I want to read all their books? But like, that means there's authors where I have like, I think I have like 90 PG Wodehouse books. I haven't read any since maybe 2015. Anyways, basically I have a huge TBR and I want to condense that down to a TBR that's actually workable. Now this would be a really easy video to film if it was a giant physical TBR, because I could just pile them all around me on the floor and sort through them. So in order to sort through this, I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk through, get excited about them again. And I'm gonna do some screen recording and we'll see how that goes. I hope it's gonna work well. So let's get to it. Right off the bat up here, we've got a book that I have no memory of what this is. Too Like the Lightning, book 1 of Terra Incognita. That sounds interesting. Maybe it's fantasy, maybe it's historical fiction, maybe it's something else altogether. Let's put that on this shortened TBR or condensed and see what it's about. So next up we have literally all of the Agatha Christie's. Or, well, not all of the Agatha Christie's, we have all the Poirots, and I think there's like 42 or 43 of these. I'm not putting these explicitly on my condensed TBR. I'll probably read them eventually, but they're not books that I like want to prioritize. They're more so books that when I feel like I'm in the mood for some Agatha Christie, I'll pick one up, but I'm not gonna make a plan to read one a month or one every 2 months or anything like that. I'll just, as the mood takes me. So this is already getting a lot shorter. This is awesome. Next, Alexander Dumas, The Count of Monte Cristo Illustrated. Nah, I'm gonna keep it because ebooks, like I'm not gonna dehaul any of these because they're ebooks, so take virtually no storage space. But like, I'm probably not gonna read that anytime soon. So that doesn't need to come over. What does need to come over is The Color Purple by Alice Walker, which I bought, again, far too long ago and just haven't got to, but I would really like to. This one is nonfiction. This is not fiction. It snuck through. I categorized all of these by hand. There was maybe a better way of doing it, but I don't keep my TBR on Goodreads because of how I work with the ebooks and stuff. So I didn't manually enter all of these, don't worry. The software I used to manage my ebooks did that, but like I categorized them fiction, nonfiction, and read or unread. So labor of love. So we'll ignore that for now. All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I feel like I saw this around a whole bunch several years ago, which is why I bought it. Then clearly never got to it. So am I gonna read that? Let's put it up on the list, and what I'm sort of hoping to get from this shortened list is a more condensed way of seeing what books do I have, because there's just so many of them, it's hard to keep track. And I find ebooks, they're super practical. I love my Kindle, it's so easy to read, but also it's really hard to see what you have and what looks interesting, and you can't just check the blurb really easily like you can with a physical book. So things get lost a bit, and that's what we're trying to fix here. Next, another one that I'm actually really excited about, and that is Katherine by Anya Seton, which, if I remember, this is a fairly recent purchase, so I should remember this. I think it's a novel about the third wife of John of Gaunt, he wasn't a Plantagenet king, he was the son of a Plantagenet king in England. It's supposedly a really interesting novel, and I'd like to get to that soon. A random Samuel Beckett. that falls in the keep it around, might want to read it sometime, but not anytime soon. Okay, another one I'm excited about. See, this is why I need to do this, because all of them I keep being like, ooh, I want to read this. Rivers of London by Ben Aaronovitch. Again, picked it up years ago and was really excited to read it at the time. I think I saw it in a bookstore or something. Went, wow, that looks so cool. I really want to pick that up. And just never got around to it. So let's put the first book of that series, which I think is the Rivers of London one, on the list. For ones where it's a series, I'm not going to put the whole series on the list. I'm just going to put the first one. And then maybe as I read from this, I will either say I didn't like the first book in the series, so I'm not going to bother with the rest of them. Or I really like the first book, I'll put the second book on the TBR now. So that's sort of how I'm going to work. Ben Bova, Powersat. I have no memory of what that is. I do have a memory of seeing it in a bookstore in Western Australia, which means I probably bought this in 2017. I feel like I should read it because I thought it was interesting looking at one time. We'll put it on the list. Oh, okay, CJ Sampson, who is awesome. And you'll notice that the first two of the Shard Lake books are not on this list because I actually reread them fairly recently. Actually, not that recently. I mean, late 2016, that wasn't recent. But I figure I've read them recently, so I haven't put them on the TBR. I'm gonna not put these on my condensed TBR just because I'm not like, they're big books and I've read them before. It was just a reread that I was doing. So we're gonna not prioritize them. I have so many books that I haven't read at all and I'm so excited to get to, so I'm gonna put those higher up. Catherine Burns, The Visitors. This would probably be a lot easier if I was pulling up covers as I went, but I'm gonna edit these in after the fact, so you guys are probably seeing covers right now, but I'm not. And I don't remember what this book is about. I feel like it has a woman on the cover, but that's all I've got. We'll put it on the TBR. And oh, this one I am really excited about. This is a last year purchase, so pretty recent still, I think. And it is The Oracle Year by Charles Soule. I'm such a visual person. I remember the cover. It's got like a cool eye thing, I think, and like radiating. But I think it's a science fiction one, if I remember correctly, and I was really excited when I bought it, so let's put that up there and try and get to it. I'm not gonna set myself like a time limit on when I need to have all of these read by or anything. I'm just trying to every month read down my list instead of just always buying new books, and reading those. I want to work down this list that I've already got. So let's see, Charlie Jane Anders, All the Birds in the Sky. I feel like in my head, this one gets really mixed up with All the Light We Cannot See. And I don't know if that's because they're at all similar or if it's because I bought them at similar times or they were big at similar times. Anyway, let's put it on the list. Okay, now we get to another chunk. I have a lot of China Mieville. I have a lot of these. I'm just gonna put China Mieville because I'm gonna do some research after I'm done filming this about which one I should start with. If you guys have any suggestions, you can see I've got a lot of his work. And if there's one where you think is a really good place to start, if I haven't read it before, let me know down below because I would like to check something out. I was so prepared that I got analysis paralysis. I was like, hey, I want to try this author. So I'm gonna get all of his stuff so I'm really ready and I can read whatever I want. Except then I was like, oh fuck, I've got all of this stuff and I don't know what I want to read. Christina Baker Klein, Orphan Train. This is a really old purchase and I feel like it was like a Kindle Deals impulse buy. If you've read Orphan Train, let me know and if I should read it. Because if not, I think we're gonna put it in the like, I'll keep it, but like, I'm not super excited about it. I have a whole bunch of Christopher Morley here. Am I thinking correctly that he's like not a recent author? I can't remember what time period he's from, but I feel like his stuff is older. I think I picked up his stuff because I saw Parnassus on Wheels recommended somewhere. And since I have all of this, I should probably try one. So let's put Parnassus on Wheels because that's the only one that I have any memory of. Okay, Douglas Clark, Nobody's Perfect. I think this is a mystery book. We're not gonna prioritize that. I don't know why I bought this. Unless it's cozy AF, I'm not that into mysteries. Drew Magary, The Hike. I bought this because Ariel Bissett recommended it super highly years ago. And so I bought it and never got to reading it. But you know what? We can change that now. I'm sure if she recommended it back then, there was a reason. Okay. Miranda in Milan by Katherine Duckett. This is one that I am really excited about as well. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, it picks up sort of where The Tempest leaves off. So it follows the story of Miranda from The Tempest, played by Shakespeare, in her journeys in Milan once she arrives, and like what it's like to be there in normal society again after living on an island with only her father for so long. So that sounds super cool. I haven't read much historical fiction in a long time, unless you count Madeline Miller. I might be remembering correctly that there's some magic in this. I don't know. We'll find out when I read it, I guess. Elizabeth Edmondson, Edmundson, a man of some repute. I think this is a cozy mystery, but I think the detective is a man, which is why I haven't picked it up yet. I tend to prefer female cozy mysteries, but I have it, and I do love me an English country house between the wars type mystery. Elizabeth Gilbert, City of Girls. I have no memory of what this is about, but I think it came highly recommended from a bunch of booktubers, so I'll bring it over too. Elizabeth Hay, Late Nights on Air. I also have no memory of what this is about. This is so bad. I assume it's about a radio, but like, that's all I know. Now, another big chunk. Okay, this will be faster. I don't think I have all of them, but I have a lot of the Brother Cadfael mysteries, which are mysteries set in, I want to say like the 11 or 1200s, maybe even earlier, where the detective is a monk who's a former crusader. So he's a really cool guy, super knowledgeable, like obviously a bit anachronistic, but like they're really cool. I'm not going to put them on the TBR because I think I have read some of these, if not all of them, in the past. And also, when I feel like it, I'll pick one up. These aren't books that I sort of, with series like that, it's more of a, hey, am I in the mood for this? Cool, I'll have one, rather than I'm planning to read that soon, because there's like 20 of them or something here. Yeah, there's almost 20 of them. That's too many. All right, next up, another big chunk. Hooray! Eowyn Colfer, all of the Artemis Fowl stuff. I think I've read the first one or two of these and liked them, but not enough to feel a pressing urge to finish the series. So I'll keep them in case I'm in the mood later, but not a super high priority for me. I think I would have loved them as a child, but now as an adult, I'm not super into, I think they're technically middle grade probably. The Fran Lebowitz Reader. No idea what this is, but we'll put it on here. Franz Kafka, Metamorphosis. This is one of those books that I know it's a classic. Maybe I'll want to read it eventually. Right now, I think I probably got it because it was a classic, and I was like, what book should I have read? But that doesn't mean they're books I want to read. Now, oh my goodness, what a chunk. This is gonna be embarrassing. This is, I think, basically everything Gabriel Garcia Marquez ever published, English translations. I say that because I have everything he ever published in Spanish later. I should read one and see if I want to read more. So I'm gonna tentatively put Love in the Time of Cholera, because that's the one I've heard the most about, or like I'm most aware of. But if you think I should start with a different Gabriel Garcia Marquez, let me know, and I might change that, because I just want to read one and see if I like his style of writing, instead of having them all sitting there staring intimidatingly at me. Everything George Orwell published, basically, I think. I've read 1984 and Animal Farm. 1984 in school, Animal Farm for fun. Do I want to read more? Not particularly at this point in time. I think a lot of these are nonfiction too, but I sorted badly, I think. Okay, more of that. H.G. Wells, The Time Machine and The War of the Worlds. Meh, maybe someday, but like, I'm not feeling classic sci-fi right now. Now, this is an intimidating chunk. Everything Haruki Murakami. I'm gonna put that I want to read one of his books because I would be interested in trying them. I've never read any, except for the one he wrote about running, which I really did enjoy, but I think I've seen that massive copy of 1Q84 that everyone has that's beautiful, but like also literally you could build a house with that thing, and been really intimidated and just been like, oh, it's not for me, it's too much. But a lot of people really like his writing, I think, so let me know where I should start. What's a good one that's good but not super long? Next, we have Homer. I think I picked up a lot of stuff on Project Gutenberg or something that was, you know, old classics that are out of copyright, so I would have stuff to read in case I ran out or something. I have no particular desire to read the Odyssey or the Iliad right now. The Dogs and the Wolves by Irina Nemirovsky. This is another one that I bought while I was in Australia. Isn't it crazy that I remember where I was when I saw this book in a bookstore and decided I should buy it? Far more than I remember what the book was about. That one will go on the TBR because I must have picked it up for a reason, and if I go to read it from my condensed TBR and it doesn't look interesting anymore, I'll get rid of it, but my tastes haven't changed that much. Oh, Isaac Asimov. I read the first 2 books in the Foundation series last year, I guess, and I do want to continue. It's just not been a super high priority, so we'll put that on. I do want to read the rest of it, and I did really enjoy them, so that would be good to get to. Ooh, this is a newer one that I was really excited about. The Girl Who Could Move Shit with Her Mind by Jackson Ford. I know there's someone with telekinesis. I feel like she has to solve crimes or something. Maybe she's been framed for murder? It definitely sounded really interesting when I picked it up. Ooh, this is a really, really new one now. Red at the Bone by Jacqueline Woodson. Red at the Bone is one that I just got and am super excited about. James Joyce. Oof. Ulysses, Dubliner, and a portrait of the artist and the young man. Maybe someday, not right now. Something about Beckett, which actually sounds really interesting, but I'm not going to put on my TBR right now. Maybe eventually. Jamie Attenberg. Did she win a literary prize recently? I feel like that's why I picked these up. I think that's who I'm thinking of. I don't know which one I want to start with. I've got the Middlesteins and All Grown Up, but I'll just put Jamie Attenberg, and if there's one of those that you recommend starting with, let me know. Another really recent one, Emma by Jane Austen. I do want to read that very soon. I'm sort of thinking that Jane Austen will make a good winter read. I don't know why I feel that way, but I feel like she might be kind of cozy to read in the winters. Jasper Fjord. Okay. I want to read the first book in the Thursday Next series because it sounds really interesting and it's been on my TBR for ages. I have no memory of what it's about. I'm sorry. This is probably a very boring video. Let me know. Does this work or not? Anyway, I do want to read the first Thursday Next book. Ooh, Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. What do you think? Will I like them? I'm not sure. I picked them up thinking I would, and then the more reviews I see, the more I'm like, maybe these aren't for me. I'll read the first one and try. John le Carré. Love his stuff, but no particular desire to read more right now. Again, keep them around for when I'm in the mood for something like that. Robert Jordan. Okay, I actually know where to start here. I picked up, I think, basically the entire Wheel of Time series up until like 2016, and then got super intimidated and like decided not to read them, I guess. But Amrita recommends reading New Spring, which I think is a prequel. And she said I can read that and see if I like it, see if I like the writing, see if I like the world, and then decide if I want to commit to completely destroying my reading goal for 2021 and actually reading the whole Wheel of Time series, because she loves them and she has amazing taste, so I should give it a go. Joseph Fink, The Faceless Little Woman Who Secretly Lives in Your Home. Very excited to read this. Hopefully gonna get to that very soon. Maybe that'd be a good October read? Journey to the Center of the Earth. Meh, maybe eventually. Julian Stockwind. I feel like this is an entire series about pirates. Not super compelled right now. I went through a phase at one point where I thought I was going to want to read about pirates a lot, I think. KJ Parker, 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City, which, as we discussed in my recent book haul, is not nonfiction about siege warfare. But it does sound like it's an interesting book. So, Katharina Vermette, The Break. I have no idea what that is. Maybe I'll have an idea when I see the cover editing this, but completely blank. Oh, put it on my TBR. The Bear and the Nightingale. Super excited about this one. I've had multiple of you tell me that it's awesome and that you loved it, so very excited to get to that one. Lillian Boxfish Takes a Walk. I can picture the cover for this one by Kathleen Rooney. I must have had a reason to buy it, so I'm going to trust that Past Rosie was onto something. I trust Past Rosie far more when she bought an individual book, because that book must have been compelling as opposed to this series looks mildly interesting. I'm going to pick up all of it for some reason. Kevin Hearn, Hounded. This is another one that I have had for a very, very long time. I have no memory of what it's about, but it's the first in a series that I've never heard of, so we're gonna leave it for now, I think. Kim Harrison. I think I started one of the books by her. I feel like she has a series of books about like a demon hunter or a demon bounty hunter or something that people compare to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, of which I am a huge fan, so let's put it on. Not sure how much I'm actually condensing down here. This is getting quite long. Kim Stanley Robinson. I feel like these are science fiction. I'll try one. I must have bought them for a reason. So if you are a fan of Kim Stanley Robinson, tell me where to start. Tell me what I should read. Oh, okay, this one's easy. The Mercies by Kieran Millwood Hargrave is super high on my TBR. I think that might be another October read. I sort of have a full list of what I want to read in September already. Even though I don't do official TBRs, I do have like an in my head list, but this one I think involves some witchcraft. So that sounds kind of spooky. Kurt Vonnegut. I was 20 and thought, Kurt Vonnegut's famous, I should read his stuff. I think I read Slaughterhouse 5, and then I saw a description of what Slaughterhouse 5 was about the other day and had absolutely no connection to the book that I read, so should I read one? I should read a Kurt Vonnegut and try. This is mostly just me asking for recommendations, but like, which one should I read? Laura Purcell, The Corset. This one sounds super cool. I bought it like a year ago, but it sounded amazing. I think it's about a young woman who's a seamstress and like makes corsets in Victorian London or something, and she's on trial for murder. Central Station by Lavi Tyler. I feel like this won a prize or something, or was it shortlisted for a prize? I'll put it on the list. Anne Leckie, The Raven Tower. I bought this pretty recently. I think. I feel like I bought this recently, but I don't remember what it's about. I don't know, but we'll put it on the list. The N Moriarty. I read Big Little Lies, and I loved that. It was really good, but for some reason I haven't read any more since, so I should read another one. I'll put her on the list. Ooh, this one sounds cool. Snake Agent, the Detective Inspector Chen novels, book 1. I do want to read that, and that's by Liz William. Oh, this one's already been read. I already read Pendix Demon. Louise Eldritch, The Roundhouse. She is an Indigenous Canadian author, I think, and I should read her book because I bought it, so I should read that. I don't remember what it's about, but we will see. Nostalgia by M.G. Vasenji. Again, I feel like I bought this recently, but I don't know what it's about. Oh well, I will read it. And then I will review it, and you will see that I do not have memory issues. I just have far too many unread books. Company Town by Madeline Ashby. This one, don't remember what it is, but it has a cool cover. Madeline Miller, The Song of Achilles, I am currently reading, so that's not on the TBR because by the time this video comes out, I will have probably finished it and already wrapped it up. By the powers of pre-filming. The Portable Faulkner. I think I got a whole bunch of Faulkner stuff and that came with it. Oh, The Secret Loves of Geek Girls, expanded edition by Margaret Atwood. I do want to read that. Don't really know what it is, except I think it's an essay an essay collection or something like that. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Mary Walsh, Crying for the Moon. I need to give this another go. It's a novel, I think, about a young teenage girl from Newfoundland. I started it sometime in the last year or two. I started reading it, and the first chapter or two contains a really, not particularly violent, but very brutal to read sexual violence scene. And I think I need to go in again knowing that that's coming and give it a proper go. Then, let me see. Behold the Dreamers by Imbolo Mbue. I don't think that's pronounced right, but this has a cool cover. I know that, but I must have bought it for a reason. Not sure how useful this list is actually going to be, but at least once I've done it, you guys can like hold me a little bit accountable and be like, hey, what happened to all those TBR books you said you were going to read? Next, I have The Female Persuasion by Meg Wolitzer, which I got because I was getting it for my sister. Well, I was at a bookstore with my mom and she was like, what should we get your little sister for Christmas? And I said, oh, well, I read this woman's other book, The Interestings, and really liked it. Let's get this one. And then I went home and bought it for myself as well because I'm a bad gift giver. But I should actually read that because I remember really liking the interestings. I don't know what this one's about. I think it's about a young woman who gets introduced to feminism or something. We'll see. Don Quixote. I don't particularly want to read Don Quixote. I might someday, but I'm not super into classics right now. Let's see. A Case of Exploding Mangoes by Mohammed Hanif. I am so excited about this one. I only bought it earlier this year, which, as you can see, is relatively recent in the span of books that I have on my TBR. I think there's an attempt at assassination using exploding mangoes, so that sounds interesting. Okay, now I have a shit ton of Naguib Mahfouz's works. I think what happened, and I will readily admit this, is when I got my Kindle, I was looking around for like, oh, what are some diverse non-North American and European authors that I could pick up who might be interesting? I made the mistake of picking up like 40 books or something, which is way too many. So I'm just gonna put that I want to read one of these, and then that's infinitely better than having read none. So if you know his works, tell me where to start. But otherwise, I'm just gonna do some research and pick one and get out of this. Nelson DeMille, The Cuban Affair. I think this is like a thriller or mystery novel or something. It had a catchy cover. There's something about Cuba for sure. I feel like I bought it and then I read the synopsis more closely and it wasn't interesting to me anymore. But I'll put it on because it's a single modern novel. Like, no, you know what? I'm not actually that interested in this one. I've had it for a long time and I feel like there's a reason I haven't read it, not just that I've forgotten to read it. Oscar Wilde, The Importance of Being Earnest, and The Picture of Dorian Gray. Maybe someday, but actually, The Picture of Dorian Gray could be fun to read. I've seen The Importance of Being Earnest perform, and I really liked it, but I haven't read any of Wilde's work, so that could be cool. Maybe I'll try that. I should read more classics. But as you can see, I don't need more books to read. Okay, now we have all of P.G. Wodehouse, basically. I read some Jeeves and Wooster back in university and liked, but didn't. I should give it another go. Given my Agatha Christie kick, I feel like, I know that doesn't sound like it connects, but like, I really like the setting of Agatha Christie books, and I feel like Wodehouse overlaps a bit, so I'm gonna put that up there. Paolo Bacigalupi? I think that's how you pronounce it. I should read one of these. I bought one of these. I had one of these in paper copy and wanted to read it but didn't get to it before I went on my gap year, so I got all of these and haven't gotten to them. Okay, Pat Barker, The Silence of the Girls. This is one that I'm really excited to read, but I need to be in the right headspace because it's a retelling of the Trojan War from the perspective of the women kept as sex slaves, essentially, I think. And that sounds interesting, but also like it's probably going to be pretty heavy and like hard to read. So I'm putting it up there, and when I feel like I'm at a place where that's something I'm ready to take on, I will read that. This is the entirety of the Master and Commander series, which is the series of books that the movie Master and Commander is based on by Patrick O'Brian. And I think I bought these at the same time as the pirate books earlier. For some reason, I was like, yes, seafaring books. I need huge series about seafaring books. I just haven't read them, and I don't think I'm going to. I think I might have started one of these, but I didn't get into it, so maybe someday. But it's hard to get inspired to read a 20-book series because you just know it's going to take so long. Peter Carey. I picked this stuff up explicitly because I was going to Australia, and he's an Australian author, and I read Oscar and Lucinda, and it was meh. Maybe I should try another one. I should read The True History of the Kelly Gang. That sounds interesting. I think it's about a band of outlaws in Victoria in Australia called the Kelly Gang, and that does sound actually really interesting. And maybe I just didn't get along with the characters in Oscar and Lucinda. Letters of George Orwell. Philip Kerr. I think these are some sort of like spy or mystery type books, which when I picked them up sounded very interesting. So I should actually give them a go. Cherie Priest. I don't remember anything about her, but I bought her books, so it must have been for a reason. Sorry, I sound like a broken record, but I have so many books on here that I just don't remember buying. A whole bunch of R.K. Narayan, who I think is an Indian author, but don't quote me on that, because I might be misremembering. I know it must have been interesting enough for me to pick them up, so let's say that I will read one and then I will decide if I'm going to continue or if one was enough. Richard Van Camp, Moccasin Square Gardens, which is a collection of short stories, and I'm not going to bother putting on my condensed TBR, not because I don't want to read it, but because I plan on reading it in September, which is when you are watching this. So hopefully by the time this video goes live, I'll already be reading it, or reading it very soon. Roxane Gay, Bad Feminist, that's miscategorized, would like to read it, but it's nonfiction. The entire works of Samuel Beckett, because I read one of his plays in high school and thought it was cool, and therefore decided that the thing to take on my gap year after university was the entirety of his written work. Not right now, I might get into it at some point. Maybe I'll try and pick up a physical copy of some of his poetry or something, because the one thing I prefer to read in like paper format is graphic novels and poetry, so maybe I'll try that. Samuel R. Delany, Nova. This is a sci-fi that I bought recently and I'm very excited about. It was described as a space opera with tarot cards and androids, so that sounds fascinating. Brandon Sanderson, The Gathering Storm. I'm pretty sure that's one of the books that Brandon Sanderson wrote in the Wheel of Time series, not one of his own books, if that makes sense. Ooh, another one that I'm really excited about. Convenience Store Woman. I think I have this on my TBR for September, so I'm not going to put it on this TBR just because, again, hopefully I'll already be reading it or reading it very soon. Sylvia Plath. I think I would like to start with The Bell Jar. That's one where, again, I thought I should have Sylvia Plath books, but never got to them, so try that out. I know a lot of people really like The Bell Jar. It sounds interesting. It sounds like something I'd be very into. I think it's about a young woman descending into depression or other mental health issues. I'm not actually that positive, but I know it sounds interesting when other people talk about it, so I'll give that a go. This one, Tade Thompson, Rosewater. I can't remember if this is fantasy or science fiction, but I know I was very excited about this when I bought it. I feel like I recently saw this on Emma of A Cup of Books' channel, and she seemed really excited about it, if I remember correctly, so that's definitely going on here. Taylor Jenkins Reid, Daisy Jones and the Six. So I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I didn't hate it, I just didn't really like it that much. And so I think Daisy Jones and the Six is not going to be a priority for me. I might read it eventually, but I'm not excited about it enough to put it on this shorter TBR, which, to be clear, is already stretching to a page and a half. Teresa Ann Fowler, Z, a novel of Zelda Fitzgerald. I don't remember why I bought this, but it does sound interesting. I actually don't know much about either Zelda or F. Scott Fitzgerald, so this could be cool, even if it's a novel. Tom Holt. I got all of these because everyone, it's commonly recommended. If you like Terry Pratchett, if you like Douglas Adams, you're gonna love Tom Holt. I'm just not loving Tom Holt. So maybe I've read the wrong ones, but I'm gonna leave them for another year or two. I'll probably come back, be like, I should try Tom Holt again, and give it another go then. But for now, I'm not really interested in reading more. Toni Morrison. I am loving Toni Morrison. I'm planning on reading, I read one in August, as you will know because you've seen my wrap up, which does not yet exist, timelines. And I'm planning on reading A Song of Solomon, but I'm gonna put Toni Morrison on here because basically I wanna read one a month, every month or two until I've read all of them because they're amazing and I'm in love. Tracy Lindbergh, Birdie. I can very clearly picture the cover for this. I want to say it's by an Indigenous Canadian author, but I might be totally off on that. But I remember it sounding very interesting, so let's put it on. This one, Samskara, Right for a Dead Man by U.R. Ananthamurthy. I have no idea what this is, but that title sounds really cool, so I'm gonna read it because A Right for a Dead Man, that sounds fascinating. Umberto Eco. I started reading The Name of the Rose last year and didn't really get into it, but I think I'm gonna give it another go. I think I could really like it. We've got Beowulf, another Project Gutenberg one, I'm sure. Ursula K. Le Guin. I don't think I've ever actually read anything of hers, and I would like to, so I'm gonna put that I would like to read one, but I'm gonna figure out after the fact which one I'm gonna start with, because I don't know what's in a series and what's in order and stuff, but I'll definitely pick up one of those soon. Virginia Woolf, the complete novels and the complete collection, because I lost track of my TBR so much so that I have bought her complete works not once, but twice. Kind of embarrassing. I do want to pick up some of her stuff. I'm gonna try and read Orlando soon, I think. I saw it recommended on Emma Harris's channel, and she has really cool taste in books, so I'm gonna try and pick that up soon. Ooh, this is an exciting one. Wendy Guerra, Revolution Sunday. It's a novel about espionage and surveillance in modern-day Cuba. It's the first book of Wendy Guerra's that's been translated into English, and I am super pumped to read that. Okay, Wesley Chu, The Lives of Tao, The Deaths of Tao, and The Rebirths of Tao. It's a series. I feel like this is fantasy, based on the titles and also based on what I remember of this book. But again, I bought this a long time ago and was excited at the time and just never got to it, and this is the story of my life. But I want to read this because it did look really interesting when I bought it. I have apparently everything Faulkner has ever written, which is a lot. 25 plus, 30 books. Maybe someday, but not right now. Now we get to something I am excited about, and that is Jeanette Winterson. I have just read Passion in August, as you know, and I would like to keep reading more. I'm not sure what I'm going to read next, so I'm just going to put Jeanette Winterson, but definitely will be keeping reading her, and over the next couple of years, hopefully read her entire back catalog. Homegoing by Ya Gyasi, which is one of those ones that I picked up because everyone was talking about it and it sounded amazing, and then I didn't get to it while it was still hype, and then I totally forgot about it. I do not remember what this is about. I feel like it might be a multi-generational family story, but I might be totally wrong about that, so don't quote me. Would like to read that eventually. Yet another non-fiction that is in the wrong pile. And now we're at the end. Zadie Smith. I think I read White Teeth back in like 2017 and really liked it. So I would like to pick up more. I will put that I want to read another Zadie Smith on here and look at some like actual blurbs and decide what I want to read next. And that is it. That brings us to the end. All of the fiction books on my TBR. So that's a lot. I don't know how many I have on my final TBR. Let me count and come back to you. Okay, I've counted. There's 75, but that's a bit misleading because some of these are authors where I have many books by them. So it's probably still on the order of 100 or more that I'll realistically read, but it's a bit easier to manage now. 75 is a lot less intimidating than 600, so I can be a bit more strategic and clear about what I want to pick up. I don't know if this has been an interesting video or not. Let me know in the comments down below. I don't know, comment if you made it to the end, if you enjoyed this. I have a probably much shorter one coming soon for my nonfiction books, but don't worry, I have a lot less of those, so it's not going to be nearly this long. I've been recording for an hour now, and I have no idea what this is going to edit down to, but trying something out, and at least this made me do the job. So even if this video isn't great, then at least I've gone through my TBR a bit and narrowed it down. If there's any books that I mentioned that you think are amazing or are terrible and I should either definitely read or definitely not read or should definitely read so that we can hate them together, let me know down below because I would love some recommendations to help me narrow this down. But other than that, that brings us to the end of this video, finally. If you liked it, please hit the like button down below. If you would like to see more of my videos, which I promise mostly are not this long, please hit the subscribe button, and thank you for watching.